No, that can't be right. No! That's not possible.
On December 27th at 6:15 p.m., Jose Sandoval Pazo was working as an electrician aboard the Carnival Ecstasy. While doing routine maintenance on an elevator, something went horribly wrong. Passengers Matt Davis and his family boarded the ship on December 25th for a spur-of-the-moment trip. The first 2 nights of their cruise was perfect and everything they thought it would be. On the evening of December 27th, the family was heading to dinner on the 10th floor of the ship when they heard a terrible electric noise like grinding, followed by the sound of elevator doors struggling to close. The family was then overwhelmed with the distinct smell of blood. To look and see an elevator with just blood coming down like a sheet and not stopping, it was a real-life scene from The Shining, Matt Davis said. The couple says time stood still, and it almost sounded like a rainstorm. Amidst the horror, one of the people from the carnival was trying to get people to go back inside the restaurant, Matt Davis said. You can hear the person in the video shouting for people to come inside, please. The couple watched in horror as they noticed a man inside the elevator. A man that had to run through the waterfall of blood to get out. After almost 45 minutes, the area was sectioned off with a sign reading, "Sorry, I'm not working at the moment." Later, Matt said that he was told by a waiter that an electrician had died. In the video, you can hear a woman saying, "The man was working in the elevator up there." A crew member or somebody was inside behind the wall when the elevator came down. And I don't know what happened, but something terrifying happened, Matt Davis said. Another family who happened to be there to witness the blood gushing from the elevator was Sarah Robinson. She mentions her family was headed to a late dinner when they heard a person scream. We looked over to our left, and over at the elevator there was blood all over the carpeting and down the elevator sides, she said. There was one other family, and the other woman had her hands over her mouth. Robinson, the maitre d' to the restaurant, began to usher them into the crowded restaurant.
Come inside, please.
You could actually hear the dripping of the blood coming down, which made us all sick to our stomach, she said. The family kept asking what had happened, but they didn't get any info. Robinson says she went to the restroom about 30 minutes later and the area had been roped off. There was a sign and all it said was that the elevators weren't working. Robinson then went to the other floors of the ship to see if the elevators were blocked off. Within another 30 minutes, she said the entire portion of the ship had been blocked off. It was terrible. They wouldn't tell us what happened, she said. Over the loudspeaker, they said, "We need an emergency medical team to come immediately." But still, no guests really knew what was going on except the 3 or 4 families that saw what was coming out of the elevator and the noise and everything that happened. From the recording of this video, Carnival Cruise Lines have offered to pay for the families to go to 3 counseling services. Of course, that's not the only terrible thing to happen on a cruise ship. Walter Bouknight, 26, of Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina, died aboard the Carnival Fantasy in 2012 while attempting to jump between floors. The ship was docked at Nassau at the time and was staying overnight there due to the investigation. A witness who did not want to be identified said of the tragedy, "They stopped the show for a few minutes. Everybody wondered what was going on. something came over the PA system paging someone to come to the desk for an emergency. After a few minutes, they finished the show. When we came back out of the theater, you could see the blood on the floor and on some of the marble steps near the desk in the lobby. It was easy to see what had happened. The ship's next stop to Freeport was canceled, but the ship made its next sailing. Deaths on board a cruise ship are never pleasant, and one former cruise worker has revealed at a time a horrifying discovery that he made on board. Each ship has a morgue on board to keep these bodies extra cold until they're being transported to the next home spot, said ex-cruise employee Jay Herring in this book, The Truth About Cruise Ships. But sometimes, the number of bodies exceeds the morgue's capacity, and the walk-in food freezers have to be used. One time, a chef rolled some meat out of the freezer and unwrapped it to find a human foot poking out. A body had been stored there, but no one had told him. He started screaming and ran out of the galley and was so terrified that the doctor had to tranquilize him. When someone dies on a cruise ship, some cruise lines use the announcement Operation Bright Star to alert the crew of the death of a passenger. The body is then zipped up in a body bag and put in the ship's morgue. There's usually space for 3 or 4 bodies on board. Tina Molson, 52, from Cleethorpes, who worked in an onboard duty-free shop from 2002 to 2010, revealed they had a particularly morbid name for this place. There was often a death on board, she said. On one of the ships, we had a shop storeroom next to the freezer room where the bodies were stored. We called it the coffin locker. One cruise line told the Telegraph that bodies are offloaded as soon as possible via an exit gateway. Next, the death certificate will be issued and the body repatriated. Costs are at the responsibility of the deceased person's family, but should be covered by travel insurance. Alternatively, the body can remain on board and return home on the ship, enabling the partner of the deceased to continue with the trip. Jay Herring has revealed that if passengers are nervous about anything going wrong on a cruise ship, it should be fire. It's the most dangerous and likely thing to happen, he said. However, cruisers don't need to worry too much, as he adds, major incidents are extremely rare. Herring said ships employ dedicated firemen who, in the event of an onboard fire, don full protective clothing to complete with their masks and air tanks. It's due to the risk of fire that irons aren't allowed on cruise ships any longer. Clothes irons are banned industry-wide, according to the cruise ship.